I'm currently with Salome Devidze, and she's sitting in a lovely Panera down in Orlando. Um, Salome, why don't you tell the story briefly about how we met so randomly last week?
So I got in that day in New York City, and I was on my city bike. I was on my city bike and just walking by, and I saw people playing, and I was already told that I've been there to that park just to shoot hoops and basketball, and I was told like, hey, the people are putting out courts there, and when I was on a bike, I was like, let's go see what's going on. Let's see what's going on. I love to go and meet new people and play pickleball, and that's what pickleball is about, just to meet people and see what's going on. And I saw these people playing, and I was like, hey, I wonder if they'll let me play with them, and just stopped by. It was so much fun, though. Thank you for playing with me.
No, it was so funny because we saw you waiting there and you jumped into this group. And in my head, I was watching you serve and I was like, you know what? If there was some of the audible cues, and I'm like, that looks like Salome Devidze. And then later on you came and joined her like, oh, I'm between here and Plantation, and we asked your name and casually just said, oh, Salome. And like I think three of us were like, what are the odds? So it was so great to hit with you and to meet you.
It was really nice. I had a great time. Thank you. And I learned New York City chords.
Yes, very unique. Each one is unique in its own
Yes.
bounces and surface. It sounds like you have some New York City roots. So can you tell us a little bit about
Well, New York. So when I was playing tennis, still every summer our home base was Long Island. We'd go out in the Hamptons, and that was my base. I would go there, practice, go play 10 tournaments, come back to practice. So always, every summer since I am 11 years old. So a lot of going to New York a long time. And then I took a break in my tennis somewhere in the middle of my career, and I went and studied a little bit at NYU.
Okay.
So spent a lot of time there, met a lot of friends, and I do spend a lot of off time in New York. We go up to Connecticut a little bit, but a lot of time around New York City, and literally a block away from where we met. So perfect location.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, we have a couple local, like Alex Newman, and obviously
That's
like
right.
Noah Rubin is
Yeah.
kind of entering the scene. And I mean, I think if you asked anyone like 6 months ago, like, is New York City a viable place for anyone to like play pickleball, let alone like be a
That's right.
pro, like everyone would say no, right? But I
No,
think
no, absolutely, yeah.
we've seen like the explosion just of the spring and the summer and the demand for the courts,
Yeah.
and just the community has grown so much that we have a lot of high level tennis players, like yourself,
Yes.
D1, coming in and just playing pickleball, because it is actually really difficult to play tennis in New York
It
City.
is. It is, which I
um,
know.
yeah, so amazing that to have you kind of half of the year at least a little bit, and
Yeah.
we'll see more on the courts. um
And I do know a lot of courts are popping up around, even like an hour drive, whether you go north or east or west. And it's really good that it's growing. And I mean, what a better place to grow New York pickleball than New York.
yeah, absolutely.
In playing New York Open the summer when I played out in Flushing Meadows, it was incredible. It was literally incredible playing New York Open out there. And yeah, crowd was great. People were great. It was so much fun.
Yeah, I'm sure it feels similar to how people feel when they play at nationals. Like
Yeah.
they're on the
Yeah.
court that they have seen
Yes.
on TV, and
Yes.
I mean, nothing's bigger than the U.S. Open, I feel like.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I was there as well.
Yeah.
And you were also at the New Jersey Open, the APP.
I was in New Jersey Open, yes, and I would actually drive back and forth from Manhattan. So, yeah, I was there. It was a great tournament. I loved it. It was so much fun, and yeah, it's
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
Hopefully we have more Northeast tournaments soon, just
I
because
want. Yes,
yeah,
yes. Let's make it. Yeah.
let's make
When
it
you see you,
happen.
yeah, let's make it happen as much as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. So why don't you tell us a little bit, just like brief bio about yourself, where you grew up, your pro tennis career, and how you transitioned into pickleball.
I started playing tennis when I was like 4. I have 2 older brothers. They played tennis, and I kind of grew up on the court. And one day, hey, she's playing tennis. That's how it started. And I started traveling for tennis tournaments when I was 7 years old. I mean, really early, really young. And we moved to Florida when I was 10. We lived in Florida. I trained in Chris Evert Tennis Academy. for 8 years. We based basically half a year out of Boca at Chris Evert Tennis Academy, the other half in New York. And then we just traveled. I played until I was 16, 15 and a half. I played junior tour and then went on to play WTA.
Mhm.
It was incredible experience. I've been to 42 countries around the world, you know, speak 5 languages, played everybody, and it's been incredible experience. End of my career, my body was a little bit like, this is enough. My lower back, especially on my serve, was very painful. So that was hard. Then I stopped playing tennis. Meanwhile, I had studied a little bit at NYU. I studied special event management. That was something that was kind of interesting on putting sports events and stuff like that. I studied alternative nutrition a little bit. I am raw vegan, and that's something that, you know, not eating animals and being raw vegan is something I'm very passionate about. Then I started building RVs. When I know, out of blue, I started building RVs. When COVID hit and like kind of travel stopped, basically, you know, I think there was a year where nobody traveled anymore via airplane or any other way. And we actually bought a smaller RV. And one day I was in this RV and I'm looking like I can do a better job than this RV is built, and literally went to Home Depot, bought myself a Sprinter van and just built an RV in there. That's how I got into it. And I had few that I bought and I sold. And I have one right now that I was actually working on yesterday. I walked in and I was like, I need to change this. I was like tearing stuff down. And
Wow. So your career is like an RV builder by day, pickleballer by night, or
something like
vice
that.
versa.
Vice versa. 2021 summer, I was visiting my brother who lives in Columbus, Indiana with his family. And he was like, come out, you're going to play pickleball with me and my friends. They're good players. They're like 4-5, 5-0. And I went play doubles and they were all like, oh, you're so great. Go on, play. You'll be great. You know, you might even be like, if you play in a year, you might even be like top 20 or top 30. You're going to have a great time. And I was like, come on, guys, you're a grown-up man. You're playing pickleball? I was like, this is weird. You're like, you know, a tough American grown-up man and you're playing this. So I kind of like ignored the whole thing and went back to Florida. In beginning of January 2022, so this year, my brother called me and said, you know, I entered us into the US Open without really kind of asking your permission, and we got in. And it's in April. It's April 22, and you need to start practicing. And I was like, are you being serious here? He's like, yeah, you got to start practicing. And I just went in Jupiter and found the local like rec games, and I started playing rec games, and that's how I picked it up. And a few weeks after, I said, I'm going to enter a 5-0 tournament and see what happens. So this is my first singles tournament, and I went out and won it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to enter a pro tournament, see what happens. And that's how I kind of build it up.
Wow. Incredible. How was the learning curve for you? You know, like, I mean, I think from a lot of people from tennis come like with a heavy Western or like at least semi-Western grip. So I'm sure there's a little bit of adaptation there as well.
So I had a pretty heavy Western grip in tennis. When I started playing pickleball for entire first, I want to say 4 to 5 weeks, I had 0 topspins. I just grabbed a continental grip and every forehand was a slice. Then I played a tournament my first pro tournament in Punta Gorda, Florida. And I played Anna Bright. And she came out hitting topspin forehand. That was the first time I've seen. And it's not like I have watched YouTube of anyone playing. I had no idea who anybody was.
You weren't studying all your opponents before?
No. Somebody mentioned like Ben Johns in Punta Gorda and said this guy is amazing. And I was like, who is Ben Johns? So I had zero idea of anything. And I saw her play and I was like, hey, I can do that. So I think from tennis going, my ground strokes was really easy. It immediately translated very comfortably. I'm still working on timing. Timing is something that I think as a tennis player coming over to pickleball, you have to keep working at all times. Coming to the net has been a year-long progress. I feel like volleys is if I don't keep practicing, I lose it. And it really helps to keep practicing. I'm really forcing myself to come in as much as I can. And I go out there and say, I'm going to play my game. I'm going to play aggressive. I'm going to come into the net and see what happens.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's interesting you mentioned that, because I think a lot of people notice the dynamics of men's singles versus women's singles. Like men's singles, like receive, you're up at the net almost no matter what, right?
Yeah.
Whereas women's singles oftentimes is the grinding sort of a lot more like kind of traditional ground stroke tennis nowadays.
Yes.
So everyone's talking about, okay, well, if the women, you know, start skewing more like longer and taller, then they can have that advantage at the net. So how has that been, like deciding, okay, do I play, you know, the ground stroke game versus let me get to the net and own the net?
So far, I feel like even if I'm playing somebody much taller than I am and has a big reach, if I am it, and I know it is because we don't have the natural speed that the guys do. And if I'm passing, if my passing shots are on, that person better be careful when they're coming in, because you're giving me free points, you're giving me targets, and I'm going for it. So I think that is the one reason it kept a lot of women back, because if girls have good passing shots, especially people coming from tennis, if they have great passing shots, and if I'm painting lines over and over that day, it doesn't feel very good coming in, right? And I've played somebody who's that day just hitting lines over, and it doesn't feel good to come in. So I think that is the big reason staying back. I think in men, because they have the reach at the net and they have the speed to cover it, if you don't come in, you're kind of done. The other person will eventually, you know, win enough points to get over it. So that's something I do think women in pickleball will get bigger and stronger. They'll get faster. Game will be studied way more. They'll just get more aggressive. Volleys will get better, and I'm sure our pedals will get bigger and stronger, and our ball will get a little faster. And women will come in way more, and it will look way more like a men's game. The women's game will look like a men's game. I think we're a little far away from that, but I think that's where it's headed to.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've all seen. I think pickleball is interesting because of the parity that it brings between ages and genders, right? We've seen in MLP oftentimes like singles women's who are great at singles, like they can easily kind of rattle off a couple points against some of the guys, despite the physical differences. So as you said, as technology changes and as I mean, it'll be super interesting to see how those dynamics
it's really interesting time in pickleball right now.
Yeah,
we're watching this grow in front of us. It's pretty cool.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, so like going back to your breakout in the pro scene, as you said, literally just 8 months ago, roughly, right? What were some of the biggest challenges you faced early on, like as you joined the pro tour?
Learning the rules. You have no idea how many times I've served to the wrong side.
Yeah.
In the beginning, it was at least 2 or 3 points a match that they were like, nope, you started the wrong side. I was like, oh my God, after all that. So
yeah.
Kitchen line was a scary place to be in the beginning. I always felt like I would foot fault, and I would be like, getting close to that. Yeah, but kind of learning the game, understanding the game. It's not in tennis. Basically, when I played, you got to hit harder and faster, and here you can slow the ball down. You got dink, you can play cat and mouse, and understanding all parts of the game. I think maybe in pickleball, I was one of the first one, maybe not the first one, but one of the first one to really start to use the serve as a weapon. And really go aggressive, and I had to kind of learn how to build my game around it. I'm still learning how to build my game around it. But mainly, I feel like every time I go on the court right now on pickleball, if I can improve 0.5% or 1%, it's a great day. That's my goal every single time. If I can improve just tiny bit and learn something new, that's a great day. So that's my goal every time I step on the pickleball court.
Yeah, absolutely. I think all of us have that little goal for ourselves, even in rec play.
Absolutely.
When you started off and like learning the rules and all the different dynamics of the sport, like did you have a coach or an instructor? Like, I mean, you're down in Florida, right? You just picked it up.
I just kind of went with it, learned a lot on the tournaments, learned a lot actually asking the refs, and I learned that you can actually ask the ref, am I serving to the right side, which I had no idea. One of the first surprise was my opponent took a timeout. And I'm like, where are you going?
I guess, that's not a thing in tennis, huh?
No, I'm like, what do you mean you're taking a break? Like, who gave you the right to take a break? So that was there was one thing, asking the ref was kind of weird. And in APP, you can lose and still come back to make the finals.
Yeah, the back draw, yeah.
And in my mind, it was like, are you being serious? Like, what do you mean? We just lost. Don't we just go home now? And learning that was something that, but mainly getting used to. I think in the beginning, I was kind of hard when, if you're returning and you win the point, you don't get the point. In tennis, doesn't exist. So all little things. I think as a beginner in pickleball, and I still have a lot on my mind when I'm playing. When I play tennis, for me, it's so natural. There's literally no thought process going on. It's all automatic, and I'm just out there playing and swinging. Here, it's way less right now than it was like 6 months ago or 8 months ago. But still, there's a lot of thought process going, and I'm working on towards making everything way more automatic and way more just fluent,
Yeah, I mean, I've been playing for about 2 years now. I still feel like there is. I mean, maybe, double, I'm more of a doubles player than a singles player. And maybe singles is, once you get into that flow state, it is kind of natural. You know exactly where you're hitting, and you got that inside out forehand, you're going to go there every time until they stop missing, right? But I mean, I always think it is a thinking game, right? And that mental battle. Absolutely. Because you're not scoring on every single point. It's like you could be playing like a 15 minutes into the game and it's still 0-0, and you're like, how do I figure this out, and how do I unlock
mentally
it?
I feel like there are way more streaks here than it's in tennis, and you'll see somebody go up 8-0 and then all of a sudden it's 9-8 the other person. It is a different kind of mental toughness. It requires a lot of mental toughness, singles or doubles. I feel like it's just way more mental game in some ways than tennis. But you got to train your mind to kind of be calm no matter what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you're kind of known as a singles specialist right now. Do you have any sights on the doubles scene? And what's that thought process for you?
So I'm going to really work on doubles. I have, after this tournament, which is tomorrow, I'm going to have at least 5 weeks off till my next tournament, and really working on my doubles. I want to get better. I have enjoyed, I've played with different partners. I've played mixed and doubles, and I've enjoyed both of it. And I said, let's see how good I can get at this. And I'm going to really work on getting my doubles better, learn how to dink, learn how to slow the ball down and all that. It feels like off doubles court, I have good volleys. I have pretty good touch, and I can see the angles and go for it. I just need to learn how to implement it while I'm on the court with somebody else next to me.
Yeah. Did you ever play pro tennis doubles or just singles?
Yeah, my best ranking was 250 in doubles.
Okay.
WTA. So I enjoyed playing doubles. I did play way more singles, but I did enjoy playing doubles. I just have to practice it and get used to it. It's a little different game. The serve doesn't mean as much. The return doesn't mean as much. And it's more like battle and figuring out and knowing the angles. It's when I watched it best, watching Annalie and her mom, and even Ben and his brother, like they have the angles down so well. They know exactly which ball to go where, when to speed up, when to slow down. And it's more of a practice than anything else.
Yeah. I mean, there's this intuition of like knowing what your partner's doing and knowing where they expect you to be after that. And that's, it takes a lot of work to develop that sort of intuition.
It does.
And so I guess next question leading into all the things that have been happening between the tours, right? I think you've predominantly been on the APP tour, but you have had success also on some PPA events as well. Yeah. Like coming from a pro tennis scene and something that's been established, and seeing the growing pains of the sport, like what are your thoughts and impressions on everything that's happened even in the last 2 weeks, right?
There's so much happening every day. I speak to APP people and I speak to PPA, and literally every time you speak to them, something new happens, something new, whether it's sponsorship or partnership or something, new development happens, it's growing like crazy. When I started, I didn't realize there was 2 different tours, and I was mainly playing East Coast, and just it had happened that APP tournaments were near me. I didn't choose one tour over the other one. First time I played PPA, I had no idea that the serve rules were different. I literally dropped the ball and served, and the referee was like, "What are you doing?" So I didn't know all this. I learned a lot over the summer. Now this end of the summer and fall, it had happened that there were way more PPA tournaments around me, so I've been playing PPA last few times. I don't, choose one tournament over other because who runs it. I want to go out there, I want to play pickleball, and I want to get better, and I want to, play good players. I know there's a lot happening, and I feel like they will figure it out eventually. Politics is politics, and they will figure it out. In a way, it's a good thing there's 2 tours fighting for it, because it makes them better. So if one does something better, the other one will get better. I do hope that they're going towards, in the end, in combining and being like a WTA tour or ATP tour. I don't think that's coming anytime soon, but eventually I'm hoping, it's going there. But right now they are making each other better. They're both fighting to be the best, and they both have advantages. And on both tournaments, I've been where I wish this tour did this better. But they both have advantages, and I know they're on both of them. They're really hardworking people.
Yeah. No, definitely. I mean, I think one interesting aspect is that it feels like a lot of players, they lock in their schedule for the entire year almost, right? Because a lot of people are playing, 2-3 events, right? So they have to lock in their gender partner and their mixed partner. So what does this process look like for you? And then you're, recapping your first year in the tour, and then looking forward to 2023, like what is your planning stage like right now?
I think as for where I stand, I haven't been playing pickleball like 7-8 years, like some of the players I play against, and to locking into playing only on one tour, not being allowed to play any other one, I'm not sure if that's at my best interest today. Maybe down the road that's the right thing to do. Having the options of playing this, like looking back, having the options of that I played both tours and tournaments whenever I wanted was a privilege for sure. And locking in, coming from a tennis standpoint, locking in to playing only one kind of tournaments, most tennis players will tell you like, are you being serious? But I can see how it can benefit a lot of players, and I can see how, and maybe even down the road is the right thing to do. I can see how, it's not about for a lot of players, it's also the financial, right? I mean, you want the financial support, you want the financial kind of be safe. And when you're on the court, you don't want to be worrying about how much money I'm going to make that week. So I can see how it can really, really help some players. I want to play a lot of tournaments. I want to get better. I have so much to improve in my game. I feel like I'm not even anywhere close to like 50% of playing my best.
Wow.
So if I was limited to only X amount of tournaments, I do worry that I'd be not giving myself the best chance.
Yeah, makes sense. So like, who do you just mentioned that you had practice this morning, and you have another session later today, right? Like, what is your training like, and who are you practicing against?
When I'm at tournaments, we'll just basically find another player, whether it's another girl or a guy, and we'll practice. And usually at tournaments, practices are pretty short. I played an hour this morning. Maybe I'll do another 45 minutes later. I'm playing tomorrow. I don't want to be tired. When I am not at tournaments, I come down to Orlando a lot, and I have people that I go to and help me get better and work with me. I think at tournaments, most of the time, we'll practice. Everybody just does, like, even you practicing with them, they're working on their own thing, you're working on your own thing, and you're just gonna head and fill out the court, fill out the air, fill out the ball. And when I'm not on a tournament and I'm more at home, I try to organize it where the practice is on working on what I need. So me and whoever I'm playing with are working on what I need to get better. And those practices are usually 2 hours, 2.5 hours, 3 hours, and then I'll go do some kind of fitness, whatever I need to do. And the thing is with this, I think every player is different. you could bring somebody who maybe very similar level than I am, but they need a different kind of practice. Maybe they need more fitness and only hour of pickleball, or maybe 3 hours of pickleball and no fitness. So kind of like when I feel like players are home, they kind of build their system around them.
Mm-hmm.
Versus when we're practicing a tournament, we'll play a game, then maybe pick up a doubles game, and okay, I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
In terms of like fitness, how's your training different or similar to tennis? I think the movement is similar in some ways, but the lateral movement, I think, yeah.
I have focused a lot on lateral movement, side steps, shuffling. I have focused on lunges and squats, so I want to feel like if I'm playing all day of singles, I still want to feel like my legs can hold me and let me be low in the entire day.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I've focused a lot on that. And I still run. I definitely still do sprints and go to the gym and do weights. I think I want to focus a little bit more on weights this coming year, get myself a little bit more stronger. But the one big focus this year has been on me able to stay low and move being low.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we definitely focused on that in tennis. Not as much. I mean, in tennis, you got to last long matches, you got to, all that. And I think actually the fact that I've spent so many years in tennis, lasting long matches has really helped me come over here. I feel like no matter how long the day is, I don't really feel like I'm getting tired. And mentally, that's a huge advantage. I feel like I can play all day and I'll be as fresh as the beginning of a day.
Yeah. I know, like when I'm in tournament mode, by the third or fourth game, especially if there's like long downtime, I have to spend mental energy to remind myself to like move your feet or like get low. And if I'm spending mental energy doing that, then I'm not able to focus on the rest of the game.
I feel like, for any player out there who wants to come out and play long pickleball matches, even if it's just doubles, when you're home on training yourself, kind of every time you spend on the court, do whatever you need to do physically, that when you're playing your matches, make sure you're not thinking about it. I think it's a huge advantage, even though it's just physical. And people say, pickleball is not that physical. If you're playing pickleball, if you're playing your heart out at pickleball, it is physical.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What's one thing about yourself that you would like, pickleball fans and viewers to know? Because I think for you, like, I think you kind of showed up on the scene and you made a big splash, right? But I think one of the biggest issues in pickleball is like no one's telling, like, we all know the top, 4 or 5 names, but once it comes down, like people aren't really getting to know the players. So what's something that you'd like people to know about yourself?
I mean, I think for me, caring for the animals is really huge. I'm really very conscious of like being green is huge for me, and being animals, I don't, consume any animal products and all that. I wish more people around the world did that, but mostly that I really, anytime I did anything in my life, I really love what I do. And right now I really, really love pickleball. I hope that it really, really grows and becomes huge, And I really feel like whatever we're doing right now, it's not so much about us. We're putting like layers for the future generation. So I just want to know, like, whoever's, watches me, the one thing for sure is if I'm still playing pickleball, it's because I completely love it.
Yeah, I think anyone who's going to be watching this is going to feel exactly the same. And yeah, it's going to be so great to connect with you on that. Last 2 questions. What are your top 3 tips for a devastating two-handed backhand?
I feel like practicing lefty one is a big one. I feel like everybody who wants to improve two-handed backhand, they need to spend time practicing left-handed. Take the paddle and as if it was your forehand, hit as many as you can. Does it not only teach the left hand to be comfortable striking the ball, it teaches your eyes to watch the ball differently and really kind of connect to that backhand. A lot of times you'll see players who struggle with their backhand. They're kind of trying to escape it and they haven't even finished the ball and they're moving to the next one. Their head is turned, their eyes are gone. Really grab the paddle in the left hand, whether it's tennis or pickleball, take the racket in your left hand and just hit as many lefties as you can. Don't be scared of it. That's my other tip. Just swing. You see best backhands in tennis or in pickleball. Annalie Waters has a great backhand. When she swings that, there is no fear. She just gets up to that ball and she swings it. Same in tennis. Who are the best backhands? I want to say Andre Agassi. We all remember his backhand was devastating. There was no fear when he swung that. So really swing it out. Really, really, really watch the ball and swing out and be aggressive at it. That's my when my best backhands, when I'm having a great day, I'm really aggressive. When I'm missing my backhand, my weight's on my back heels and I'm kind of staying away from it.
Do you ever go inside out to hit your backhand versus your forehand?
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time. Yeah. I run around my forehand to hit it inside out backhand all the time. And, people will be like, why are you doing this? Just hit a forehand. But when I'm on and my timing is great, it feels so comfortable and I can shift my weight through it. A lot of times I didn't realize I did it. My body just went and I hit it. So it wasn't, it's not something I stand there and I practice it, but it's definitely something that's in me. Yeah.
Yeah. It must be that comfort with, as you said, left-handed, just treating it like a forehand.
Treating like forehand. As a kid in tennis, I've spent a lot of hours playing lefty against the wall, playing lefty, volleying lefty, and kind of teaches that side of their body that it's okay to be doing this.
Got it. Yeah. No, I want to head out to the courts and practice that now, except it's pouring rain.
Yep.
All right. Last question. Thoughts on eventually representing your country of Georgia in the pickleball Olympics?
A dream come true. I'd be so happy. I saw a post the other day, I don't know if this is true, so don't quote me, that 70 countries around the world play pickleball today. Is that true?
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I was just in Bali a couple of weeks ago and they had the World Pickleball Championships there and they had several countries represented. Of course, my wife and I, we brought our paddles and we went and found some local players. Cool. I mean, Barcelona 2021, we went there and there was a facility with 3 courts and now
that is so cool.
I think anywhere you go, you'll be able to find it if you look hard enough.
I think the number is 75 countries around the world that needs to make the Olympics. I think for me to represent Georgia in Olympics, especially at a first pickleball Olympics event, will be incredible. I really think the sport is heading that way. I can't wait till it's Olympic sport. Also, I can't wait till it's a real college sport. I think when it's a real college sport, parents will start their kids at a young age, especially if they can get scholarships, pay their own way in college. That is a huge next step for pickleball, huge next step for generations to come. Make it a better sport, make it a bigger sport. And that's when you'll see bigger and stronger players come in and really dominate. But representing Olympics, pickleball is great. I emailed somebody recently inquiring, what do I need to do to bring pickleball to Georgia? And I got a whole list of things I need to do. And when my time off is coming, I'm going to focus. And I really want Georgia to get in. They're really into tennis. We had some really great tennis players in Georgia, and I was like, why not? They can start playing pickleball.
Yeah, I mean, it's so easy. Just bring over a net and get some tape, and you're ready to go.
Get it going. Absolutely, it's incredible.
And I think all you need is just one nexus, one pod, and then it'll just spread from there because
it will.
Everyone will just want to share it with everyone, so it'll happen. If it hasn't happened already, I feel like
it hasn't. I asked around, and I really want them. And I want to email somebody, in Georgia, and be like, "Hey, I'm Georgian. I represent Georgia. I'm number 2 singles in the world. Let's bring it. Tell me what do you need me to do. I want to get it going." Absolutely.
Well, I can't wait to see your post about that when it does happen.
Yeah, well.
Well, thank you so much for sitting down with us and
thank you, and I'll see you in New York pretty soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Let us know whenever, and we'll hit the courts.
You can teach me doubles.
Yeah, we'll see about that.
Okay.
All right, great talking to you.
Thank you so much.
All
Bye.
right.
Have a good one.